Multiple vehicle collision, school bus overturned, children screaming, state trooper overwhelmed. Interstate 25 outside Colorado Springs erupted in chaos at 15:30 hours when a jackknifed semi-trailer caused a 6-vehicle pileup involving a school bus carrying 32 elementary students. State Trooper Lisa Chen radioed frantically, "We have mass casualties. School bus overturned. Multiple vehicles on fire. Need all available units." Traffic was backing up for miles as emergency vehicles struggled to reach the scene through the gridlock. Jake Morrison, 48-year-old truck driver, pulled his rig to the shoulder and observed the disaster. Fire trucks were stuck behind each other, blocking the path for incoming ambulances. Emergency crews were running around without clear coordination. When Jake approached Trooper Chen, her response was immediate. "Sir, get back to your vehicle. This is an active emergency scene. Civilians are prohibited." What she didn't know was that the man she just dismissed had coordinated similar chaos under enemy fire and could see exactly what was going wrong. For 6 years, Jake had driven long-haul routes across America, watching emergency responders handle accidents while keeping his military background to himself. To most people, he was just another truck driver, someone to move aside when real professionals arrived. Nobody knew Jake Morrison was Master Sergeant Jake Morrison, recipient of 3 Bronze Stars for coordinating casualty evacuations under fire. 24 years of infantry service had ended when back injuries from multiple IED explosions made combat duties impossible. The transition to civilian life had been devastating. His wife Jennifer had left during the difficult adjustment period. "You don't talk about what's wrong, Jake. I can't live with someone who's given up." Economic necessity forced him into truck driving. His military experience seemed worthless in the civilian world, just another veteran whose skills didn't translate to regular employment. Now he lived alone, hauling freight while emergency situations reminded him of operations he'd once managed in combat zones. The frustration was constant, watching preventable coordination failures while being dismissed as just another civilian observer. The interstate disaster was spiraling beyond control. Fire trucks had positioned themselves blocking ambulance access. Emergency crews were working individually without anyone organizing the overall response. Children's cries from the overturned bus grew weaker as precious minutes passed. Fire Chief David Santos shouted into his radio, "Where are those ambulances? We have critical injuries here. They're stuck in traffic behind your trucks," came the response. "Can't get through to the scene." Jake watched the chaos and recognized the same problems he'd solved dozens of times in Iraq. Fire trucks needed to move back. Someone needed to take charge of the whole scene. Traffic had to be managed to create clear paths for medical helicopters. "Trooper, if you move those fire trucks back 50 feet, ambulances could get through," Jake suggested, approaching Chen again. "Sir, I already told you to stay back. Emergency vehicle positioning isn't your concern. Ma'am, those kids are getting worse while ambulances sit in traffic. Just hear me out for 30 seconds. Who authorized you to give advice? You're a truck driver. This requires certified training." Jake's frustration boiled over. "I'm Master Sergeant Jake Morrison, United States Army Infantry. 24 years coordinating operations exactly like this." Chen stopped her frantic radio work and stared at him. "You're military?" Chen asked, her voice changing. Her father had been Army, 20 years before retiring as a first sergeant. "Master Sergeant Morrison, 3 combat deployments. I've managed casualty operations with more vehicles and more injuries than this." Fire Chief Santos, overhearing the exchange, approached with obvious irritation. "What's the problem here? This gentleman claims to be military and says he can help with coordination," Chen explained, her tone now more respectful. Jake pulled out his military ID and veteran's card. "Master Sergeant Morrison, I've coordinated similar situations in Iraq and Afghanistan." Santos examined the credentials. "Master Sergeant, I respect your service, but civilian emergency response has strict protocols. I can't have unauthorized personnel giving directions." "Chief, I'm not trying to take over. I'm suggesting simple changes that would save time." The sound of children crying from the bus grew more desperate. Santos looked at the chaotic scene, then back at Jake. 30 seconds. "What do you see?" Jake's assessment was direct. "Chief, your trucks are blocking each other. Move them back 50 feet. Ambulances get through. You keep your water supply connected. That's not standard positioning." "Sir, It's how we positioned vehicles in Iraq when lives depended on getting casualties out fast." Santos hesitated, while radio reports indicated more delays. "What else? Someone needs to be in charge of the whole scene, not just individual teams. One person coordinating everyone, instead of separate crews working their own problems." Chen interrupted. "We have protocols for that, but it takes time." "Ma'am, those kids don't have time." Another desperate radio call. "Ambulances still can't reach the scene. We're losing critical patients." Santos made a decision. "Jake, what would you do first?" Jake's approach was collaborative. "Chief, if you moved your lead truck back about 50 feet, ambulances could squeeze through that gap." Santos hesitated, then keyed his radio. "Engine 1, back up 50 feet and reposition." Within minutes, ambulances began reaching the scene. The simple repositioning had solved the access problem. "What next?" Santos asked, his resistance dissolving. "Someone needs to coordinate who goes where. Right now, everyone's working their own piece, but no one's managing the whole picture." Jake suggested creating a simple check-in point, just one spot where team leaders coordinate so everyone knows what everyone else is doing. Santos began implementing Jake's suggestions. "All team leaders, coordinate through me before changing positions." The transformation was immediate. Emergency personnel began working as a unified team rather than separate crews. As the coordinated response took effect, Fire Chief Santos watched his emergency crews work with unprecedented efficiency. Santos pulled Jake aside. "Master Sergeant, in 20 years of emergency response, I've never seen coordination this smooth." His voice carried amazement. "We train for mass casualty incidents, but we've never achieved this level of organization. What you're seeing in 10 minutes took us months to develop in training scenarios. Chief, combat teaches you to organize chaos quickly because lives depend on it," Santos finished. "Damn it, this is exactly what we needed, and we almost missed it because of protocols and pride." Santos looked back at the coordinated scene. "Master Sergeant, you've got knowledge that could save lives in future emergencies. The bus extraction required coordination between rescue, medical, and helicopter teams. Chief, medical teams work best when they're close to the casualty point, but not getting in the way," Jake suggested. Santos evaluated the positioning. "Where would you put them?" Jake pointed to a spot 30 feet from the bus. "Close enough for immediate treatment, far enough to avoid interference. Helicopter landing spot over there. Clear path from medical position to aircraft." The extraction proceeded with precision. When the most critically injured child was extracted, the coordination between all teams functioned seamlessly. "Master Sergeant," Santos said, watching the smooth operation, "your suggestions aren't just working, they're revolutionizing how we handle complex emergencies." During a brief quiet moment, Trooper Chen approached Jake privately. "Master Sergeant Morrison, I owe you more than an apology," she began. "Ma'am? My father was Army, First Sergeant, 20 years. He always told me that the best NCOs were the ones who quietly got the job done without needing recognition." Chen's voice carried genuine emotion. "I almost cost us precious time because I assumed a truck driver couldn't contribute to emergency response. My father would be ashamed of how I treated a fellow veteran." Jake's response was gentle. "Trooper, emergency scenes are stressful. You are protecting your authority and following protocols." "No, Master Sergeant. I was protecting my pride and ignoring your expertise. You offered to help save children, and I almost prevented it because of my assumptions." Under Jake's coordinated approach, all 32 children were extracted safely within 45 minutes. Critical injuries received immediate helicopter transport, while less serious injuries were treated efficiently on scene. As the last child was loaded into an ambulance, Fire Chief Santos addressed his team. "This was our most effective mass casualty response in my 20-year career. Master Sergeant Morrison's coordination made the difference." Emergency personnel who had initially resisted civilian input now understood the value of Jake's experience. Jake's response was humble. "Chief, helping people is what soldiers do. The uniform changes, but the mission stays the same." 2 weeks later, Fire Chief Santos called Jake directly. "Master Sergeant Morrison, I've been talking with the State Patrol and Emergency Services. We want to offer you a position as Emergency Response Consultant." Santos continued, "Your expertise could prevent future tragedies and improve our ability to serve the community. We'd work around your truck driving schedule." Jake accepted, feeling valued for the first time in years. That evening, Jake's phone rang. Jennifer's name appeared on the caller ID. Jake, I saw the news story about what you did. I'm proud of you. Jennifer, I just did what needed doing. No, Jake, you used your experience to save lives. You found a way to serve again. Her voice carried genuine admiration. I'm sorry I couldn't see your value during those difficult years. Their 16-year-old daughter, Ashley, came on the phone. Dad, my friends at school saw you on the news. They said you're a hero. Sweetheart, I'm just a guy who remembered his training when it mattered. Dad, I'm proud of you. 6 months later, Jake had trained dozens of emergency responders in coordination techniques adapted from military principles. His renewed sense of purpose had transformed his life completely. The depression and isolation that had defined his civilian transition were replaced by meaningful work that honored his military experience while serving his community. His relationship with Ashley had rebuilt into weekly phone calls and monthly visits. Jennifer remained supportive, and while they didn't reconcile romantically, they maintained a respectful friendship. Young emergency responders sought Jake's guidance. Master Sergeant, how do we organize multiple teams during complex incidents? Jake's training enhanced emergency response capabilities throughout the region while building bridges between veteran and civilian emergency service communities. 32 children went home safe that day because a truck driver refused to stay silent when lives were at risk, and emergency responders were wise enough to listen when expertise was offered respectfully. Sometimes the person with the best solution is the one you assume has nothing to offer. The truck driver in the next lane might be exactly the tactical expert you need, but only if you're humble enough to listen and they're brave enough to speak up when it matters most. Don't let assumptions about job titles or current circumstances blind you to the expertise that might be hiding in plain sight. The most qualified person in any emergency might be the one everyone assumes has the least to offer. If you enjoyed this story, click the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next one.